Believe we're live. Hi, Miss Jerica. Thanks for
Hello,
doing this
hello.
today.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, friends. We've loved all of your feedback from these ROI Live in five, which is like last week's was, I don't know, like 20. So we're gonna go fast. We're gonna high D you today. But here's the really cool thing. So I asked Jerica if she would talk about this because as she came into our business, she realized really quickly that Steve and I were overlapping in a lot of things, and partnerships can get so tricky. And then if you add another high D into the mix, it could get even trickier with like who's doing what and let me own that, you own that, and whatever. And so we were having some breakdowns around that in this company, which, happens, you guys. But I would say with partnerships, like if you've got two partners at the top, which we consult a lot of people like that, or two siblings, or a mother and a
Husband and
daughter,
wife.
we've got
Yeah.
husband and
Yep.
wife, like all these things, right? We've got all these things in small business. This thing is really cool. And the really neat thing is, I mean, you guys can Google it, it's RACI chart. And I'm going to let Jerica explain it and how she kind of happened upon it. But, she brought this into our life and we didn't even get to do it for as long as I wanted to do it, but we did enough where we got some clarity around some things. And so, Jerica, explain what this is, how you came upon it. I know you came upon it from restaurant life, which was really cool. And you've been using it with a number of partnerships and probably brought a lot of clarity to people. So we'd love to hear the how that came into your life.
Yeah, totally. So back in 2020, when we were all confined to working in spaces with our families, my husband was actually building a RACI chart for his new restaurant that he was opening. And I heard him on a Zoom call talking about it, and I was like, excuse me, what is that? And can you walk me through that? Because I need to know immediately. Because at the time I was working with a husband and wife team, real estate team, and we had multiple businesses. And so we were constantly like bumping into each other in terms of like who was supposed to do what and basically how do we get all of these businesses off the ground when we're all crossing paths and crossing lanes and
Yeah.
kind of trying to do all the things at the same time. And so essentially a RACI chart is really a corporate project management tool that has been adapted to small business. It can be adapted to restaurants, could be adapted to any business really. And so essentially what it does is it just clarifies the lanes in terms of decision making and execution. So often in businesses, and this happens too, like not only just with partnerships, but also with, like the leaders versus a team. So this RACI chart can be helpful in kind of all directions and
Yeah.
depending on how you choose to apply it. But essentially what it does is it separates who is responsible for execution, who is responsible for actually like being accountable to the result and or making the decisions, and then who just needs to be consulted and who needs to be informed. Because what happens, and especially in the context of business partners, is people kind of fall into natural areas. And when we're coming to consensus in business, we're really moving very, 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 very slowly, trying to get everybody on the same page and just bleeding hours and time and duplicating efforts. And if we can kind of assign this partner is accountable for these things and this partner is consulted on these things or informed about these things. There are many things in businesses that I know I personally don't care about being involved in the decision. I know, Lindsay, you're the same way. You're
Yeah.
like, I actually really don't need to be involved in that at all. It would be cool if I knew it was happening, but
I
like
don't
that's
want more
kind of it.
jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so what it does is it really just reduces the amount of decisions that are on people's plates, especially as leaders, which can be really powerful. And it sounds like it's some crazy tool. It's actually just a spreadsheet. There is a lot of nuance in how it gets executed, which is definitely where we can kind of jump in to help. But yeah, it just is a superpower tool that really helped us, really, quite frankly, in my previous world, double our business because we were able to kind of define clear lanes and just move, really quickly through things because there was no more crossover.
Yeah, there's like a huge ROI here with that. And I mean, it's funny, like I think Steve and I used to be really good at different lanes, and then we're starting to do different things and build some different tools. And man, was it like we were just all over the place. And I know it brought a lot of clarity. So, Racy, let's talk about what that stands for. So, like the R is responsible. Walk us through the rest of that there.
Sure.
So that's
Yeah,
who's
so
responsible, right?
yep. So responsible is basically the person who's executing the work. So that's the person that's actually doing the legwork. You can have many people across the team that are responsible for something and may own different pieces of the process. A is who is accountable. So that's the
Mhm.
person who's the decision maker. So ultimately, you can only have one person who's accountable because, as we've all heard Steph Brackett say to us a million times, if two people owns it, no, if two people own it, nobody owns it, right? That's burned into the back of my mind from coaching with her. And so, there can really only be one person that's accountable. C is somebody who's consulted, so they have something to add to the decision-making capacity. Maybe it's information, maybe it's perspective. They could just be somebody who could lean in and help. And then I is just somebody who's informed. And one of my favorite things when I think about my previous team is like that became like the joke. We were like, "Oh, sorry, you're actually just informed, so I'm going to need you to
Right.
go over there. We don't care about your opinion today."
Yeah.
Which,
Which
of course,
I
is
mean,
not how it actually happens, but that was always the joke, right? Like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yes. I mean, there's kind of, I don't know, there's something kind of beautiful about that in my opinion. So
There is, yeah.
I really like that. That's why this was so interesting to me. So, obviously it's just to give you guys like I'm gonna say for ROI purposes, like prevents role confusion, improves accountability, streamlines communication, helps teams work more efficiently. That's some of the stuff that Jerica and I kind of came up with. But more than anything else, like for the ROI, when she and I were talking, she was really saying like there's like a time recovery for people, right?
Huge.
And we when you stick it in Chat GPT or whatever, it'll say like, a 10 to even 20 hours per week back because you guys aren't tripping over each other and duplicating things, which I can tell you, Steve and I regularly we're doing, right? And so if that's the case, right? Like, I mean, if we had to put some dollars on that, what do you think that looks like for most people that are high D performers?
Yeah. And I think too, like if you just even were to like take a look at your own calendar and say,
Yeah.
how many meetings or how many conversations am I having around something where we're trying to come to consensus? And consensus takes time. Usually people have one meeting, they separate, they go think and research and do something on their own. They come back, they talk about it again. Sometimes that even happens a third time. And so even if you're just looking at it from that perspective, and let's just say it's an hour per decision, right? Like an
Yeah.
hour per
Yeah.
meeting. You meet about it for an hour, you go do your own research on it, you come back, you talk about it again for another hour, you fight about what answer is right. And then even just think about that, if you were to say your hourly rate, for example, right, is let's just say it's $100 an hour, which, depending on what business you're in, maybe more, hopefully not less, but could be less, right? As a business owner, you're $100 per hour. That's $300 in ROI that you're going to get right there just from
Yeah.
taking the time. Like, and on that one decision, coming up with a RACI chart takes what, Lindsay? What would you say? Like less than 2 minutes?
I mean, especially if you have somebody leading, actually, let's do this. If you have a Jerica or like Kayla or somebody, a consultant leading you through it, I really think they can help you get through it. If you're leading yourself,
True.
there could be some challenges there because I overthink everything. You know that. I get into the details and I mess stuff up. So like I know there's others out there listening. They're like, just me too. So if you have a consultant leading you through it, I think it could be really good. But yeah, like realistically, we're looking at like 50,000, 250,000. That's ridiculous.
Well,
That's a
and that's
ridiculous
that's
ROI.
$300 just on one small decision. And how many
Right.
decisions are you making in your business every single day?
Yeah, yeah. So nuts. So listen, this is a high level, high D version of this. We're going to stop because we're already 15 minutes in and we both have meetings. If you want to talk more about this and you want more clarity in your business, if you're a partnership, if you're a husband and wife, God bless you. You need this more than anybody else, I promise. But like listen, it brings clarity and like we've got spots open for consulting. So we would love to help you. Jerica would love to help you. She's so good at this stuff. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for walking us through it. And we will put the one pager as normal right in here. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Perfect. See ya.